Hello there. Welcome to another episode of HCC MovieMakers Academy.
Sorry.
Oh gosh, really?
Yes, really. That was amazing. I've never heard you sing. Well, hello there. I want you to
Oh my God.
Well, hello there. Would you be my neighbor?
How are we supposed to do this? Hello.
All right, let's go. Come on, let's do it again.
Sorry, I'm terribly sorry. That was my fault.
It's okay.
Yes, it was.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I know. I take full responsibility.
Somebody's phone?
Okay. Alright.
Alright, cool. Cool. Waiting on your prompt, sir.
Silence
God, Sammy.
on the set, please. Action.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of HCC MovieMakers Academy Movie Reviews. My name is Nguyen Lee, and you are...
Steffi Grace.
Yes.
And we are going to talk about Insidious Chapter 3.
Is anyone?
Insidious Chapter 3, it is the third sequel in the Insidious franchise. And it doesn't star Rose Byrne or any of the main characters from the original movie, except for the psychic
Shay.
lady. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it does have Dylan McDermott. That's his name, right?
That's...
No, not Dylan McDermott. Dermot Mulroney. I always get those
There
two
you
confused.
go, exactly.
Yeah, I had a Bobby Hill moment.
Don't worry.
So,
Yeah, I got confused with that too.
Right, and the actress, I don't know who she is.
Stephanie Scott, she's actually new on the scene, and speaking of which, she actually did an awesome job on the film, you know.
They all did.
Precisely.
Yeah. The actors did a good job
Mm-hmm.
for what they were given.
And once again, it's like, you know, what successful horror, you know, to me, what a successful horror movie is, it's just that, you know, characters act in a way that makes me, you know, scared for them. Like The Conjuring did, you know, those characters, when they're in danger, I fear for them, I fear that they're gonna
Right.
die, and then, you know,
Well-
I get invested in the film. Same concept applies for Insidious
Right.
Chapter 3.
Well, with The Conjuring, it relied more on jump scares, but I still enjoyed it. Now, with this one, I did not like it. I thought it was boring, very
Really?
boring, except for two scenes, and it was with that one dead guy in the hospital gown going.
Oh,
That was the only scene that got under my skin. I thought that's a little freaky. If
Yeah.
I saw that, yeah, I would probably stop in the middle of the street and go, what? And then boom, I would get hit by a car too.
right.
So those were the only two scenes where you see him waving at her. Those were the only scenes that caught my attention. The rest of it was slow and it was excruciating because I wasn't getting what I had paid for.
I think
I
that's
felt a little cheated.
I think that's actually nice, you know, because the thing about the previous Insidious, you know, like the first Insidious, people say that it's a modern day Poltergeist. Insidious 2, people say that that's modern day Psycho / The Shining. Insidious 3, it doesn't really base on anything. It tries to be its own thing, you know, and
Right.
I think it succeeds because under a different direction. The guy who directed Chapter 3 is actually the writer of 1 and 2, and
Well.
who's also Specs in the film. So the thing is that the scares in the first two films are always supported by music, either loud or small,
That's
doesn't
true.
matter.
That the music, the really, really loud, dissonant violins is true. This is a prequel
Yeah.
to the first two.
Right.
There was I forgot something that the other thing that I liked, the third thing that I liked, that's
Okay.
it. I'm just gonna say that's it. Those two guys that are always in competition with each other.
Oh, Tucker and Specs. Okay.
Yeah. They start off with before they get started. The big guy. Which one's the big guy?
Tucker.
Okay, yeah, he has the mohawk and he's all combat boots and so yeah.
It's great that
yeah.
it's great that you get to see their beginnings. You know,
That's
they're,
true.
They're just
And how
these,
they start off with a psychic lady.
Mhm.
Yeah, but like I said, that's I'm drawing the line right there.
Okay.
Those are the only three things that I liked this movie for. So let's talk about the first two leading up to this.
What would you like to talk about?
Well, I thought that the second one kind of tied up the loose ends in the first one.
Yes,
So
in kind of like, you know, this surprisingly perfect way. You know?
it did. Like when you see the second one, you think, oh, that explains when the door was open, why the door was open. Yeah, something that you might have forgotten about until you see it. So the first two, really, really good.
Well, the thing is, Chapter 3
It's where it all begins.
Like I said, it tries to be its own thing, and maybe it sets off a different direction for the Insidious franchise. Who knows? But I'd say, yeah, it doesn't really have that, like unique like sense of dread that the first two Insidious have shown us, but A for effort kind of thing.
I will get, because it did try to be creepy, like with the footprints on the wall, like from the floor and then going to the wall. What was that black stuff that ghost had been stepping in to leave those nasty footprints that are what, black tar?
Well,
what was that stuff?
That's up to the imagination.
I think he like took his dog for a walk and stepped in something, and then it was something.
No.
Yeah, it was something.
No.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the thing is, what I liked about the scares for Chapter 3, is that, like earlier I said, the scares for the first two are supported by music, small or loud. The build up for the scares and the setup for the scares for Chapter 3, like complete silence. It makes me feel me. I know you don't like it, but it made me feel uneasy because I don't know what's gonna happen next. And not to mention the villain in Chapter 3 is actually creepier than the
woman?
Yeah, than the Bride in Black.
The woman, wasn't it? It's supposed to be a man.
Yeah. Then the Bride in Black in Chapter 2, who's supposed to be a man, and the red-faced demon, aka Darth Maul.
Yeah, oh my gosh,
first one.
thank you for saying it. Thank you so much. What was up with Darth Maul being in there? He was in the first one,
Right.
where he just goes, and apparently we're supposed to be scared of Darth Maul, because he's a bad guy in the Star Wars
Now
things.
the villain for Chapter 3, the man who can't breathe, is actually creepier than both of them combined. I dare say that too.
I would say he's creepy until you see him. When you hear about him, then it's like, ooh, that sounds creepy. A guy in a hospital gown who can't breathe and gurgles it sounds creepy. And then you see him, and then I wasn't creeped out once I saw him. It was just like Mama, watching that movie Mama all over again. When she starts seeing her too much, she's not scary anymore. She's just ugly.
That's the thing about horror. The less you see, the more you fear.
That's true. Less is more. Makes it creepier.
Yep. But unfortunately, like the script goes in a way that the villain itself become very secondary. Unlike the first two, where pretty much, a lot of time, a lot of, I assume page in the script are dedicated to the villain itself as the threat of the film. The film being the name of the film being Insidious. So,
Right.
but then the third one, it actually tells more about Elise. Her
The psychic.
Yeah, her beginnings, how she's this meek woman who has to deal with grief.
Her husband.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
speaking of grief, Insidious 3 actually has,
It has a lot of that because-
has the most development over the first two. First two is actually a scare show. If you boil it down to, it bare essentials. The Insidious Chapter 1 and 2 are just like, it's a freak show. Chapter 3 is, it tries to tell something here about the human condition.
It does it a lot slower, and it just wasn't as interesting to me.
Right.
The first two, with the exception of Darth Maul, and that was pretty good.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do love the fact that, like Insidious 1 and 2, the Chapter 3, all the scares are like all the horror, all the supernatural happenings, they concentrated in this singular location, which makes it feel very uneasy. And speaking of in one location, our main character, she's crippled, so
she can't really go anywhere.
Exactly. It solves many of, like horror stereotype problems, like,
But
God,
somehow-
girl, or God, man, why don't you go over there?
She can't go anywhere.
Exactly.
Unless the asthmatic demon takes her to the top floor above their apartment, which is where this thing lives, apparently. Yeah. It causes major leak problems so I think the landlord needs to kick that demon out. So, what would you give it?
I'd say I would give it a 7. It's not really the strongest entry in the franchise. It's not really the darkest entry in the franchise as promised either. However, personally, it is interesting. It tries to be something new, So I give it an A for effort, even though it could have been more in terms of the scare department and all that sort of stuff. Like all horror should be.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, I'd give it a 4. Because it wasn't. It wasn't god awful where I would just say don't watch. Well, I might say don't watch it. Me personally, I would say don't waste your time, but
Okay.
that's my opinion. So yeah, give it a 4. Anyways, thank you for joining us. This has been another HCC MovieMakers Academy Reviews. Academy Review singular. So we also have a YouTube channel. So subscribe to our YouTube channel if you like films as much as we do.
Now our YouTube channel is plural, not singular, like she said.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you subscribe, we'll find you and we'll love you. Okay. So.
Yeah, and sign up with our HCC movie making program at HCC Spring Branch location. That's it. So thank you very much.
All right.